poker's legendary champions, next generation stars, and tireless ambassadors of the game, sharing their wisdom and guiding your journey to high achievement on the green felt. This is Chasing Poker Greatness with your host, Brad Wilson.
Welcome, my friend, to another episode of the Chasing Poker Greatness podcast. As always, this is your host, the founder of ChasingPokerGreatness.com, Brad Wilson, and today's guest on the show is MTT Wizard and PokerCoaching.com coach, Matt Affleck. Matt has over $4 million in live and online tournament cashes in his career with no plans of slowing down anytime soon. Just a few of his career highlights include a gold medal victory in a $3,150 scoop event for $550K, a $264K victory in the $2,500 main event at the Coco Poker Open, and a $139,000 first place finish in a $1,500 event at the Wynn Fall Classic. Matt was extremely easy to talk to, and his pure passion for the game shines through bright and clear. It's easy to see why he's been able to sustain such a high level of success for as long as he has. Also, to give you a little more perspective as to how Matt operates, here's a little behind-the-scenes tidbit. After we stopped recording, Matt wanted to pick my brain on some different coaching techniques and methodologies, and we ended up talking shop for maybe another 30 minutes after. I only mention this because, in my humble opinion, this is the trait of a human being who pursues excellence in whatever venture they dive into. If you truly want to draw from a deeper well in the avenue with which you're chasing greatness, finding folks who are already deeper in the forest than you and asking their opinion is one of the most impactful things you can do to expedite the learning process. With that said, today you're going to learn a greatness bomb from Matt on efficiently using solvers to improve your MTT game, wise words on how to structure your off days so that you can maintain your energy levels, a hilarious story about the odd place in which Matt was sitting when he won his scoop for over $550K. Here's a hint, no celebrations were allowed, and much, much more. So without any further ado, I bring to you long-time multi-table tournament crusher, Matt Affleck. Matt, welcome to the show. How you doing, sir?
Good. Doing very well today. So, everything's well. Had a good day yesterday. And
why are you doing so well today?
I had my biggest online post Black Friday score yesterday. I'm pretty confident that's the biggest online score. So, I won a big tournament on ACR yesterday, so pretty happy with that.
How much we rake in?
I won 200, ended up being like a 200K prize pool for 35. So
that's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah, felt pretty good.
I can imagine. So today's just a free roll. I
was supposed to play today, and I'm like, I started whenever I have like really good sessions, or normally end up. At first, I thought it was I wasn't focusing after winning the day after, but it's really, I think, just like an energy thing, because your best sessions end up normally being your longest sessions, and it's just like an energy drain. And so whenever I have a really good session, I'll normally just take the next day off. Just for an energy standpoint, I just find I normally I'm not able to put like a full focus session in. So normally I do play Fridays, but now we're off today. So
I had an interview with a good friend of mine, Adam Creek, and he talked about the adrenaline dump and how it can stay in our body, and it just feels rough. Like it feels a little foggy, a little sluggish the day after. And I have to assume that, as you're focusing more and more and the intensity ramps up, which, let's be honest, I have to imagine focus and intensity are much higher when you're at a final table than like with 1,000 runners left.
Of course.
It's going to be a big use of resources, then a big adrenaline dump when it all ends.
Yeah, and I was talking to Elliot Rowe, and it was kind of like I asked him, like, I've noticed just Mondays, like I find that A, my results aren't good, but B, like kind of my session cooldowns, like I'm just kind of like I didn't focus very well today. I was saying, what's like obviously it's like maybe harder to focus after I win money. I'm like a little content, maybe like that. And he's like, it's probably just energy. Like
Yep.
Sundays are very, very long days. So now I take Mondays. Mondays are an off day, and then I take Saturdays off before Sundays, just for that whole energy aspect of playing online tournaments. It's a long grind. So
For sure. And I think that speaks volumes as to like where you're at in your poker career or where somebody is when they're consciously aware of how they feel, where their energy levels are at from a day-to-day basis, and kind of see those patterns. One of the things that I've noticed when I play cash, interestingly, is that when I get stuck 4 or 5 buy-ins right out of the gate, my sessions are historically longer than if I win 5 or 6 buy-ins right out of the gate, right? And
Yep.
This is so contrary to like all poker literature, everything you read. And at some point, I just kind of realized that it's almost as if I feel like I'm a fighter when I'm down 4 or 5 buy-ins. It's like I'm walking down the street and somebody just pushed me down on the ground, and like now I'm going to fight. And it actually makes me focus more. And I still feel confident that I'm not tilting, but I have more energy. And so I've learned that just embrace that feeling whenever it happens for me. If I'm stuck 4 to 5 buy-ins, my focus ramps up. I'm not just punting off stacks or anything. Just use it, play an extra long session, and increase the average length of your sessions if that's how you feel.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Whereas like in tournaments and stuff, whenever I'm in a downswing, like I'm motivated to play more.
Yep.
Like a lot of people like take time off and stuff. Like I study more, I play more. It's like, it's almost like you need to work harder. Like you need a type of mentality. And like yesterday, session didn't start too well. I think I was in like 4 buy-ins in this tournament in the first like hour, busted a couple other like, 100s and 200s. It was like rebuying and stuff. I'm like, uh-oh, this is going to be, this could get to be an expensive session. And then kind of just kept grinding, was feeling good. I'm like, on my breaks, I'm like, yep, I'm feeling good. I'm playing well. Like hasn't gone too well so far, but just keep grinding. You don't know what any of these, 12 tournaments, one of them could, work out. It's just putting yourself in the opportunity. So
yeah, man, it's I love that, and it's just so different than like the ivory tower advice that is typically given to poker players. And yeah, I used to feel bad that I was that way, that my body felt that way, and that was how I constructed my sessions. But as I've matured some, I'm just like, just lean into it, man. It's just energy. Like, and if you have a surplus of energy, use it. You'd be a fool not to use a surplus of energy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I had like Tuesday, and I've gotten a lot better at this in the past, where I woke up, kind of went through my morning routine, and I was just like, I'm not feeling it today, which is something I normally, I'm not someone that takes time off a lot. I'm a 5-day-a-week player, pretty much all the time. Don't take like a month off. I don't think I've never taken a month off of poker in 12 years, or 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off type of thing. And I was just like, I don't have it. And I used to in the past with like, whatever, I'm going to play through it today. And then, but like Tuesday, I've gotten better. I'm like, you know what? I just don't have the energy today, and it's going to lead to probably suboptimal results. So I took the day off, kind of took care of myself, came back Wednesdays, like a coaching / I do content for poker coaching. And yesterday was like the first day back, and I was just like, felt very fresh, like renewed energy and stuff. So it's something I've gotten better at, and just being aware of what my energy levels are, and also like being aware when they're lower, like I need to fight through it. And then potentially when they are lower, like taking the day off, if I'm not going to be able to.
And this is specific, it's like specific to the player, because some people are looking for any excuse to take a day off. And so they rationalize, oh, my energy, I don't really feel like it. That's a whole different ballgame than what we're talking about. So don't if you have problem with volume, don't just be like,
100%.
I'm going to take all the days off now. No, we're not talking about you. We're talking about like, basically it's a mindset problem too. When you play and your energy levels are low and then you start performing under your capabilities, then you're like, I knew I shouldn't have played today. And then results maybe don't go your way. And you're like, God, you start having this like self-flagellation that makes you feel worse. And just overall, just not a great place to be when your energy levels are low and you're not on your A game.
Yeah, I had it like about maybe 2.5 months into quarantine. Like I've been playing 5-6 days a week, 12-hour sessions every day. And I was fine. Like I hit that mark. I'm like, my energy's not there. I'm taking the day off. And then the next day it still wasn't there. And it ended up being like probably like 3 days off that I took. And it was just like, came back and I'm like, wow, I like, you don't realize it until like probably after the fact how much you needed it.
Yep. And I've said it many times on this show, but it's like you're lifting weights, right? You do a rep, you do 5 reps, you can't get another rep no matter what you do, but then you put the weight down, you take a minute break, and then you can get some more reps. Like poker is the exact same. Sometimes you just need to take a break so that you can do more reps. And there's no shame in that. It's just how we're made as human beings.
Yeah, it took me a little while to get over that. And I was like, sometimes when I would take a day off, I'd feel like, oh, I'm lazy. Like this is like, why am I not working today and stuff? And it's like, it took some time to like get over that. And then now it's like, okay, I realized, looking long-term and stuff that it's just.
Why'd you feel that way?
Managing. I don't know. I've always tried to I've been a person that's really never taken a lot of time off of poker. Like I can't, maybe like 2 weeks or something for like a vacation or something is like the longest I've ever taken off. And I've always been, a 5-day-a-week grinder, try to play 40 hours a week plus studying and stuff. And it's just kind of like, if I'm a scheduler now, like schedule my week out and stuff. And like, oh, I'm supposed to work today. Like, I'm taking today off now. Like sometimes like, and then now it's kind of, all right, I realize it's, I put out a lot of energy, kind of like, this is probably not like, some people are going to take this example the wrong way. But if you look at like NBA or anything like that, like a team on a back-to-back on the second night is not going to play as well as the first night.
Of course.
It's just a simple energy factor. And it's kind of like in poker, it's not physical. I mean, there is physical energy, but there's like the mental energy is like probably as much as like, for example, maybe like a physical athlete puts out there, like mentally, like it's the same type of like, not
expenditure,
damage, but like, yeah, expenditure on the brain.
Yep. And I've talked about it on the show before too, about chess players and how chess players, when they play a tournament that's extremely intense, they burn like 5,000 or 6,000 calories a day.
Yeah, I read
just
that. That's
sitting
crazy.
right across from each other, right? The same thing is true in poker. Like this is, I always used to feel weak when I would end a session and I'm like, my brain is made of mush and like, I can't really communicate and I'm just physically exhausted. And I used to think, man, I'm so weak. Like, why can't I just be like Nanonoko and just play like 12 hours a day at 20 tables and like, just be fine and a normal human being. And I just realized like, he has some sort of genetic blessing that allows him to do that and perform in that way that I just don't have. And we have to work within our own capabilities as human beings, and just don't feel bad if that's your physical, if that's your genetic makeup, basically.
Yep. No, 100%. And I'm very like grateful and I'm happy. Like I'm one of those poker players that like loves to play every day. Like I've seen over time, there's a lot of poker players that it's just like a means to the end of them. They don't enjoy it. They don't like it. They don't have fun doing it. They look miserable. And it's like, that's like not me. I'm just excited, fun, more interested in the game than ever now and stuff. So it's, I'm like very happy and like grateful for that. Cause I don't think there's a lot of players, like there's a lot of professional players, but I don't think like a lot of professional players have that like 100% passion where they like just love it.
I agree. They don't. I think I'm one of them that doesn't just love it every single day in the cash game arena, showing up and like playing 1,000 hands of six max that I've played millions and millions and millions of hands of over the, it can become a grind. And when your returns start becoming diminishing, where it's like in the beginning, you're like, hell yeah, I'm gonna work.
Exactly.
I'm gonna do everything I can. I'm obsessed. I'm immersed. And then you reach the point where like, okay, I'm a pro and I'm making money. This is great. I don't have to work another day of my life. And then at some point, it's like the returns, you don't grow as much as you used to. It's like you improve deeper in the decision tree. That's like cool for increasing your win rate a nominal amount, but doesn't really make a massive difference. I think just the experience of learning and growing is something that is really undervalued by professional poker players. Like learning new games, learning new theory, trying different, styles, going to MTTs, learning pot limit Omaha, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and kind of what you said is why I made the decision to just like I ended up now just specializing in tournaments. And I used to play a lot of cash. I played a lot of live cash post Black Friday. I didn't move out of the country. I just started playing live cash for probably 4 years, 5 years. I went through some spurts in the last couple of years where I switched to like 6 max online cash, 8 tabling that, and I just didn't love it. And it was kind of that, I think personally for me, like cash game, there's a little more monotony where it's like kind of the same situations pop up over and over again. And it felt a lot more, I didn't get that excitement level. And I tried to switch to cash because I think it makes a lot more sense. Where like the stakes I'm playing, my hourly is going to be roughly about the same playing cash in tournaments. And obviously you're going to have a lot lower variance in cash games. So it makes a lot of sense. Like, why would I have play for more variance
and stable schedule too?
Exactly. And I loved being able to, like, for a while I was playing like 3 hours in the morning. I would take a break. I could make lunch, walk the dog, play two more hours, 3 more hours at night. But it was just, I could keep it up for like a week or so, 2 weeks. And then it was just like, I burnt out a lot quicker and I just didn't enjoy the grind as much versus I just found out like, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to screw that like mentality. It's just, I love tournaments and I love the situations are always changing. There's,
Yep.
You need to know, like studying like 6 different stack depths, studying different, situations, all the, like, I've been doing a lot of like ICM study lately, and it's like ICM is interesting because it's not something you can like implement straight into your game. It's like you have to understand the ideas and be able to like apply it to the game because there's never going to be the same 2 situations twice in any situation with ICM versus with stack sizes and payouts and stuff. And so like just all these situations that constantly pop up and they allow for really like creative thinking is just what intrigues me in tournaments. The fact that, and that adrenaline rush, the excitement of the tournaments. And I do love, like, I think live cash is great. Like I wouldn't go to playing like online 6 max, and I still, once pandemic's over and stuff, like, yeah, I'll go and play live cash for a couple weeks and stuff. Like I do enjoy live cash because you can play deeper. It's more, you got the social interaction. It's a lot more interesting that way, I think, because you don't have to play robotic like you would online and stuff. So I've
a lot more unknowns with live, and then there's more information you can use to make your decisions. I love the social aspect of it too. I didn't play a ton before pandemic. I think I had taken like 4 years off because I live in Atlanta. So it's like a dead zone here. I moved to Atlanta because I met my wife and we got married, and it's like, okay, I have online poker and I'm just going to stick with that. What I have found though is where the passion is kind of with playing and grinding every single day. I am passionate about coaching. I am passionate about helping guys and seeing them make the gains that were happening like earlier on in my career. That's something that really pumps me up. And also when I take time off to, make the podcast, create content, do coaching, I find, oh yeah, this is cool. I'm going to play a few hour session. I kind of look forward to it because it's not something that I'm doing every single day. So it just feels a little different, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So I started coaching. I got back into coaching last year, and it's really, first I found out like coaching helps me a lot, and it helps identify some weaknesses in my thinking. It helps my development as a player, and it's also a skill like I'm working on. Like coaching is like it's a skill, and it's difficult. Like I'm not probably the best tournament coach right now. Like I'm working on improving. Like it's something that is And I'm always asking my students for like feedback. I want honest feedback in terms of, and I think it's a difficult skill to take a complex situation and being able to describe it in a very simple and understandable context.
Absolutely. And I know that in my world, in the cash game world, there's extremely complex things that need to be broken down in a simple to understand way. That is extremely difficult, which means I get to think about them a lot. And how do I want to teach this? How do I want to describe this in an understandable way? And I just had Kevin Rabichow on the show and released his episode today. But, he said in there, high stakes, a high level crusher does not mean high level coach. Like
exactly.
Just because you hire Phil Ivey and pay him $10,000 an hour to coach you does not mean you're getting $10,000 worth of value, because coaching and playing are two different skill sets. And you can actually be not the best poker player in the world, but be an amazing 100%. Coach.
And there's I think there's people that I watch stuff where I'm like, okay, I think I have an edge on this player and stuff, but I think they're a very, very good coach. Like on various, sites, whatever videos that I watch and stuff, but I think certain people are like very, very good coaches. I agree with that. They might be like a just average reg, but they're an extremely effective, good coach.
Right. Because like we just said, simplifying complex ideas to explain to other people is a lot of work and requires a lot of thoughtful reflection by the coach. And I'm using Phil Ivey as an example. I'm not picking on Phil Ivey, but it's like, why should Phil Ivey even take the time to break down his complex decision-making process in a way that is understandable by us mere mortals, right? Like it's a waste of his energy and a waste of his time. So he's just not going to spend any time doing it, which means that he's probably not going to be a great coach, which takes nothing away from the man.
Of course.
But it's just where you're going to spend your energy,
Yep. I completely agree.
And so we went, this is not how the show normally starts out. We just started out talking and went down a little tangent. But normally we start out by me asking you, what's the story of you playing cards? Can you tell me that about your journey?
So it's nothing too exciting, kind of the standard that you've probably heard 100 times on this show. But I mean, I was in high school when Moneymaker, I think, was on. What year was Moneymaker? 04?
04, I believe.
05?
Maybe 03. I think 05 was Fossil Man.
Yeah. So I was in high school watching with friends and stuff. Started playing, little home games with friends in high school, $5 tournaments, got $1. We'd be, our friends would get some money online somehow, and I'd be begging them to get me a transfer, $1 transfer and stuff. And I'd be grinding 1 cent, 2 cent online and stuff. And then kind of throughout high school, it just kind of grew where it was like, started out as $5 home games, then it was $10, then it was like $100 little cash game. And then by the time like junior, we were playing like, $25, $50 sit and goes at lunch. And there we were gambling. It was it just kind of grew throughout high school.
How important was it that you were playing with your friends?
Looking back at it now, it was like, so the group I was playing with, there's like 5 professional poker players right now.
Yeah.
And like some of them, like they're not like household names, but like 3 of them have like over $1 million in earnings and stuff. Like, so it's pretty crazy looking back at it now. And it was like, it was just like fun gambling, playing cards and stuff with friends. It was good.
This is the same. It's like the Fedor Holtz effect. When I had him on the show and we talked about, he said there was 10 people that he lived with in Germany, and they did not start out as super high level crushers. After a year, all 10 of them were in the top 100 MTT players in the world. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that I'm sure you and 5 of your friends are pros now, because you built each other. You helped each other out. You gave each other wisdom. You studied together, you grew, and you just can't really, you gain so much experience in such a short time when like one of you will put in so many hours, learn an important lesson, and then teach it to everybody else, you can't really put a price on the value that you gain.
Yeah. So by the time high school ended, I was going to I was going to go to University of Washington. I grew up in Seattle, so that's kind of where I always wanted to go to school. And I remember having the conversation, I guess, kind of with my parents. It was like I was working at a grocery store, pushing carts, bagging groceries, all that type of stuff. And I was like, I'm making more money playing poker than I am $10 an hour. And I don't remember what my bankroll was at the time. Like I had no bankroll management, so at that time, but I probably had like, 5,000 to 10,000. I had one tournament for 10K on party by that time. And so I was like, I want to like enjoy college. I don't want to have a job and stuff. So I would prefer I think I want to quit my job before I go to school. And ended up like semi convincing them to do that. Was able to like quit my job playing poker. Like I had won one big tournament for like 10K at that point. So I was kind of like,
what do you mean by semi convincing them?
Like they were like, okay, more like, okay, you can focus on school and stuff. Like I'm like, that was my argument. Like I want to, I can focus on school. I want to be, enjoy college, not have to worry about like the job while I'm there. And so,
was that genuine or disingenuous?
It was genuine. It was genuine. Like at this point, my parents had known, like, I was, I'm going to borrow my parents' car to go to my friend's house, and I was going to the casino to play 3-6 limit hold'em and stuff. So it was, they knew poker was like a serious thing. And that was kind of the first point of like, okay, this is a serious hobby, not like, and they knew about poker, but I don't know if they still, like, they thought I was like a degenerate gambler or anything at that point, which,
yeah.
So, but by the time like freshman year of college hit, I was 20 tabling, like I was probably at like the $27 sit and goes, like
what year was
around
this?
there, maybe the 60s. 06, 07, probably. Nice. So I was like a sit and go grinder, and I would play MTTs too. But yeah, I basically through college was grinding sit and goes. Like I was a good student in college, went to all my classes. Wasn't like skipping classes for poker or anything like that. I had like a 3.8 GPA and stuff, and would go to classes, do my work and stuff. But I would also like schedule my stuff around poker.
Yeah.
So
did you graduated? You got your degree?
Yeah, I graduated. So freshman, sophomore year, still grinding poker a lot. And then junior year was kind of my big breakout online in poker, and had huge win. I won it. That was the year in 2009. I won a scoop event that year. And
how did that change things?
I had like a 35K bankroll, 30K bankroll, won a $100 or $200 satellite to a 2K scoop event. Tried to sell action to a couple of friends. And then I won a scoop event back then they were massive. So I won a huge scoop event at that time. That was junior year of college.
How much was it for?
Almost 500,000.
That's an okay day.
Yeah. There's actually a funny story about this. So I lived in a fraternity, and you can imagine the internet situation in a house with 65 guys in it. And played day one. I don't even remember kind of how the tournament went, but on day two, there's probably, 27 left, 18 left, something like that. Internet went out at our fraternity. And I remember like basically spent like 1 minute seeing if I could get it fixed, and then went full on run to the library on campus, which was like probably 3/4 of a mile, half a mile. And like,
why didn't you take a car? Why are you running?
Well, it's like parking on campus and all that stuff is just like going to take way longer.
Yeah.
And so it was probably like, 7. I was winded. And in the library, you could rent these like private study rooms, basically. So I rented one, and I grinded the whole thing in there. And I won 500,000 in the library on campus while there's other people like studying, I don't even know what day of the week it was, if it was a weekday or a weekend and stuff. And I just remember walking home, walking back to the fraternity with there's probably this shit-eating grin on my face while I'm walking back and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
you just won $500,000.
yeah, I called my mom. She didn't believe me. Like, texting friends in the fraternity, like, let's go, get everyone ready, we're going out. Like,
Did you break any library rules? Any yelling in the library?
No, I was very closed the laptop. There was a few fist pumps, and then it was like, all right, let's go. Kind of got out of there. So,
wow, that is a great story. So your life I would imagine it's not life-changing money, but it's life-altering as far as your tournament poker career.
How did things change? Yeah, I mean, I was 21 years old with way too much money for a 21-year-old. Yes. And I wasn't like ever like go out and buy and do stupid stuff like that. Like, kept grinding, but like went to the World Series. That was the first year I played the World Series. That summer was the year I got 90th in the main event, or 80th, somewhere around that. That was the first year I played the main event, where I was chip leader on like day 4 of the main. Ended up getting 80th. And going into senior year, I pretty much knew that. So when I went into college my freshman year, I was going to be a finance major or accounting, somewhere in business. And guys in my fraternity were getting $25,000 signing bonuses from Goldman Sachs to take a job because they just wanted to hire everyone they could in 2006. 2010 was pretty much the bottom of the financial markets. And
a different world.
There was like there was 1,000 people applying for one job. Wow. And I had spent my summers playing poker rather than doing internships. So I was going to be at a severe disadvantage there. And so I was kind of like, okay, I'm probably going to give this a try after college.
You're just running good across the board.
Yeah.
What'd your mom say, by the way, when you told her you won $500,000?
I don't even know if she believed me. I think it was like, oh wow, good job. Like I think she was excited, but she's like, you won? How much did you win? I'm like, oh, like $500,000 and stuff. Like, I don't even know how, like, it's like we grew up in like a very kind of, I don't know if I want to say normal, but like, both parents worked. We had I was very fortunate growing up and stuff, in the situation I was growing up with and stuff. But like that type of money is like, I don't think my parents, like, they don't know that type of money at all.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't think it was like kind of like, it's something I don't think ever really hit them type of thing.
Hard to process.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to process for my family if I was 21 and binked for $500,000. I mean, that's something that we think about, like pro athletes getting a signing bonus or something when they join like an NFL team, right? Yeah. It's a lot of money for a 21-year-old. Were you responsible? Did we hold on to the money? How'd the poker career go from there?
It went well, but I was playing a lot. So my favorite thing about online poker was playing EPT satellites, Saturday mornings. And so cool, like, going into senior year, I had won a satellite, the EPT Barcelona, where the tournament overlapped with like the first week of the semester. And I remember texting one of my professors who I'd had before, and I think at this time he knew I played poker. And I was like, I'm going to be out of the country. I'm going to miss the first 3 classes. Don't drop me from the class. I'm in it. And he's like, well, we have a midterm, the 5th class, and you're not going to pass it if you're not in the first 3 classes. And I'm the type of, yes, I will. So what I would do is like 10-hour flight to Europe. I studied for 7 hours. I had all the slides, read the books, all that stuff, came back, got like a 90 on the midterm, kind of like a FU to him and stuff. And that was kind of what happened. Like senior year, I set up my classes in business school. You did 2 hours twice a week for your classes. And I set it up where all 3 of my classes were on the same day. So I think I did Mondays and Wednesdays, or Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I only went to class 2 days a week. And it was Mondays and Thursdays because Martin Luther King Day, see, there's no classes on the Monday. And I had won a satellite to go play EPT Deauville. And I had set it up where I left after my Wednesday class, flew to Paris that night, missed Monday was the holiday, and then I missed the Wednesday classes, and I was back for the Monday. So I went on an 11-day trip to France, played an EPT event, and missed one day of class during college.
That's pretty good. Pretty good scheduling.
Yeah. So I was kind of scheduling stuff. I graduated senior year.
Why'd you love the EPTs? Why'd you want to play in those?
They were really soft back then. The tournaments were really soft. It was just kind of cool. Like I would wake up on a Saturday morning. I remember like, what's one of the cities they used to play? I didn't even know where it was. Like I would play satellites to these tournaments where I didn't even know where they were. Sometimes, like obviously I know where like Barcelona and stuff. I was like Estonia. Like I've heard of it, but I don't really know where in Europe it is. Like, all right, we're playing this satellite. There was the one in Poland, Warsaw. First I was like, I had to look up where Warsaw was, and like I was playing satellites. So I didn't go to that one, but I probably played like 6 EPTs, 6 or 7 of them. And so that's where a lot of the bankroll went. Like I was playing satellites, rebuying some of the main events and stuff. So I was playing way out of my bankroll with live poker. And I frankly probably wasn't very good at the time. So
pretty common, I would say, for people to hit a big score and then just be like, oh, cool. Yeah. Now I'm in the 5 and 10Ks. Let's go.
I think it stunted my growth a lot. Winning a lot of money early on in poker, I think definitely stunted my growth.
Could you talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, so 2009, I won the Scoop event. And then 2010 is when I got 15th in the main event. And at that point, I'm just kind of like, this is pretty easy. You're just going to get a big score every year. Just, let's just fire. And I was firing some EPTs. Like I was doing well, but just like travel expenses were just insane and stuff. And I wasn't at the point in my career where I was like, very cognizant of that and stuff. Like the EPT, the Barcelona hotel, I think was like $400 a night or something, $300 a night. I don't remember, with the package, PCA, like all that stuff is just like, it's so expensive to travel.
Yep.
I think I was running like, I'm trying to remember, tax, probably like $40K a year in expenses. Maybe more. I can't remember exactly, but it was really expensive. And when you're like that young and like, I guess winning a lot of money, it's kind of like, this is really easy. Like, why would I study? Like, just going to play, keep playing and it's going to happen. And at that point, like online poker was shut down. We're getting ready to shut down. It shut down in Washington State before everywhere else, which was actually semi-lucky because I didn't really have any money online during Black Friday. But like I wasn't playing online then anymore. So it was kind of that like stunted the growth as well, not being able to play online. So just kind of a combination of just feeling invincible type of thing. So,
well, I mean, you relatively early in your career and you just rip off $500,000, right? Yeah. I imagine thinking about somebody like Chris Moneymaker, right? Like he wins the WSOP main in his first live tournament ever. Yep. And is he a significantly better poker player than when he regged day 1 than when he wins it on day 5? The answer to anybody in poker is obviously not, right? He's obviously hasn't significantly improved, but then the perception and the media and the portrayal is world champion, best in the world, and I imagine that like as a human being, it's hard to not let that kind of go to your head and start being like, you know what? I believe the hype. I am good. I am great at this game, right?
Yep.
Not saying that happened with Chris. I'm just saying it's an easy trap to fall into.
Yeah, I mean, I think to Chris's credit right now, like I actually think he like works on his game right now and is actually trying to improve and stuff. So I mean, for someone that's obviously had a successful career outside of poker and obviously like a successful poker career, like I think he's done some stuff since then as well. Like, and I think he works on his game and stuff. So yeah, that's I think he was like got coaching from like, was it McKeon, like through Chance's program? He was one of the students, I think, in Chance's program for a while and stuff. It's kind of cool, like self-awareness where he just was like, okay, like, I don't think he's doing it for the money. Maybe he needed the money. Like, I'm assuming he doesn't play professionally. He probably has a lot of money. He was working on his game because he wanted to improve.
But More so, this is like the 2 years following, right? In the year following the win, is he getting coaching? Typically, I found that like
No, I don't think. No. I think this is like in the last like three years or something like that.
years, yeah. I mean, it's tough, right? Like none of my students that come to me that pay for coaching are like coming to me while they're just crushing everybody's souls and like ripping off 20 BBs per 100 over like a 50K sample. No, nobody comes to me when that's happening. They come to me when they're struggling, when they're on a massive downswing and they need help, right? Which I think is a fundamental problem of just how folks approach poker coaching and poker education, basically. But that's just kind of how it happens. We don't want help when everything's going our way. We want help when everything's falling apart.
Yeah. What you said is actually something I've thought about a lot recently. And this year, like online has been like, I'm having my highest win rates. I've been studying more than I've ever studied, kind of the top of my game, and kind of system I put in place where like, all right, if and when I have like a significant score. So for example, now I got to try to implement this system to see if it works. I'm like a certain percentage of that is going to go into like my coaching fund for money to improve. Like right now, I've been thinking about for like the last month, like thinking about a few people potentially for hiring as a coach. And now that's probably going to take place. And what you said, like, I think now it's like I tell my students this, like obviously like private coaching one-on-one isn't cheap. And there's more, if you're like learning the fundamentals, there's more efficient ways to get better. And I send students to various online, I send them to pokercoaching.com where I'm a trainer. Like you're going to get way more higher return on investment. Go through all the content then first. Read there's a couple of good poker books out there that are, for a $20 investment, you're going to get a great return on that investment. Private coaching is for that like next step. And I tell my students, I want you to reinvest in me as a coach when you win. Like one of my students just won a tournament for like 5,000, like online. I'm like, great. That's, I think now is the time to like reinvest in that. I don't want you to reinvest while you're like getting crushed and stuff because then it's taking more of a hit on your bankroll. I don't want to eat into your bankroll as a poker coach. I want to help build your bankroll. And there's other things going on when you're in a downswing that I'm not even probably going to be able to help with. So,
yep. I'm going to agree and disagree. So here's where I'm going to disagree. Like I agree that they're amazing resources, right? For much lower price points than private coaching, because private coaching by nature is, you're buying an hour of an expert's time, and that's just going to be more expensive than when you watch a video that's uploaded on a site or go through some program. The problem is when there's scale like that, folks will watch the videos, but not be held accountable to implementing what they're learning.
100%.
And private coaches hold you accountable to make sure you're studying and learning the right things. And lots of folks can get off path. They study the wrong things that are highly inefficient. They have problems that they're not even aware that they have. And so they just start skipping steps. And like private coaching can kind of resolve that. So I do think like, I know what you're saying. It's just, I've seen it too many times where like one of my students right now who's made the most gains out of anybody I've ever coached. It's insane over the last 6 months how much he's grown as a player. He had all the training and watched all the videos for a year and was like obsessed and just wasn't improving as a player. And he just needed somebody to kind of hold his hand and say, no, study this. No, you're thinking about it wrong. Like this is the priority. When he had that direction, it was just so instrumental to his growth.
Yep, 100%. I agree with what you say there, and I think giving my students homework and stuff is very, very good. And I had a new student yesterday. I was doing a database review through Poker Tracker, and we noticed some stuff like he was playing flatting too much in early position by a lot and 3-betting too much. Like his 3-betting stats were higher in early position than later position, and among some other things, we were going through a hand history about like your homework this week is to filter your database for all spots in EP where you're presented in a situation to flat call there and pull up the hand charts and find out where you're flatting too wide because you're flatting too wide there. And so I'm like, that's like your homework for this week. And just to find out, I'm like, yes, we can go through it myself, but this is something that's this is a task that you can do on your own that doesn't require like paying me an hourly rate to be like, okay, fold this hand, not this hand. Like we have the chart, like you understand this like type of thing. And then, so we're going to spend the time going through hand history, identifying new leaks. Cause early on in the sessions, it's all about just identifying leaks and then building a structure about how to improve those leaks and what type of like getting them on a good study and study routine like that. So that kind of first homework is it's a good sign of like, I've had students where like, I'm like, yeah, I always recommend like mental game of poker, for example. And like when a student comes like, yep, I read it last week. I've read it. I'm listening to it a second time on audio. I'm like, okay, like this is potential here. Versus you have some students who are like, yeah, no, I didn't really do it and type of stuff. Like you can kind of find out how dedicated someone is right away.
Yeah, we can't do the work for you. We can show you what the work is. It's like we can lead the horse to water, but we can't make it drink. And if you're not willing to do the work, you're not going to improve. We can't just force you to improve, right? And I love homework. I give all my students homework as well. And I've recently been implementing homework since it's cash games. I'm connecting them together for the homework. So like they'll have homework and they'll create this situation where they quiz one another back and forth. So players on a similar level are interacting, which I think is valuable as well, talking to people who are around your same skill level. But yeah, man, coaching is tough, right? Like even when you look at a hand history in a database, I found somebody can pull up a hand history. They can do all the right things. Like I can click through it and I'm like, this hand was played perfectly. And then I can watch them on video talking about why they did what they did. And they did everything for all of the wrong reasons. And it's like, oh my God. So I can go through your database, look through hands that are played perfectly, and they're played perfectly for all the wrong reasons. So it's still an issue and still something that needs to be worked on.
Yeah. So people that have watched my content on poker coaching and also my students, they get incredibly annoyed by me because every single situation, like, what are you doing here? They're like, well, I'm going to do this. I'm like, why are you doing this?
Yep.
And then it's like, well, okay, why are you thinking this way? Like, when I say this factor, what does that mean to you? Like, I would tell my students consistently, I don't care what you do. I don't care what the result is and what your decision is, because you could be making the decision for the wrong reason or the right reason. And I can't really there's a whole nother thing with performance and making the right decision. But what I can do is I'm trying to fix the thought process. And there's a lot of times like, yes, I agree with you. I would do it, but for a slightly different reason. I'm going to raise here for this situation because I'm going to 3-bet ace queen off here because it's a hand that plays much better at a shallow SPR and plays much better at a lower stack depth, rather than I'm going to 3-bet for X and Y reason. Like, just being able to make those small tweaks and teaching them how to make decisions, I think is the important part, because there's very few decisions that come up that are the same. And being able to, the way I know things are clicking is when a student is able to apply one situation to a different situation, but use the same type of reasoning.
Yep. Take one concept and then apply it to other similar concepts, but not the same. And sometimes my student will do something where I have a different preferred line, and I'll just ask them why. Why'd you take this line? Why'd you bet 3/4? And they'll explain it, and the thought process and the logic is totally sound. And I'm like, cool. Like, it's not even something that like I would bother correcting. It's just something they would approach differently than me, but the logic is sound. So don't mess with the logic. If the logic is sound, the reasoning is sound, they understand the incentives and the objectives, and that's what they're working with, we're going to make different decisions as human beings. Like you and Jonathan Little are going to sit down and you're going to make different decisions, but that doesn't mean that either one of you is more right or more wrong. You just play differently and approach things in a different way.
So I just thought of a good example. I had a coaching session yesterday, and I was reviewing tournament, super deep stack, playing like 200 big blinds like early on, and he like opens ace king, there's a flat, and he gets squeezed. And I'm like, what are your thoughts here between 4-betting ace king and flatting ace king? And he ends up flatting ace king. He was saying, this range is like pretty strong, it's linear, and it's goes on. I'm like, so I'm fine with your decision to flat. I'm indifferent, other than for one thing that you said, that he's 3-betting a linear range. And I asked him, would you rather 4-bet here against a linear range or a polar range? And And so I'm like, if he has a linear range, you're going to 4-bet and you're going to get called by like hands like eights, ace queen, king queen suited. You're going to get a lot of value from your hand.
Yeah, we have
and he's going to have
domination.
like, yeah, exactly. I'm like, versus a polar range that's like aces and kings here and queens, and then a bunch of like, I don't want to 4-bet and have ace 5 fold. Like,
Yep.
I want to flat then and keep those hands in. So then it was like, I kind of like saw the aha moment. I'm like, yes. Like when I said that, he was like, oh yes, I should probably 4-bet because it is a linear range.
Exactly. Yep. And yeah, those stuff like that, it's really cool when students can kind of see that. It's like, oh, ace king has domination value. We're doing very well versus a linear range. Against a polar range, we're just folding out the bluffs, and when we get it in, it's not super great. But yeah, it's coaching. There's, how did it feel, by the way? Like when your student has this realization and you know that they're going to take it on to the next tournament they play?
It feels good. Like I've had, just like playing poker, like I've had sessions where I finished up the session. I'm like, that went really well. Like I really felt like the student was engaged. I asked good questions. I feel like I provided really, really good value for that student. I've had some sessions where I'm like, I felt like maybe I didn't explain stuff a little too well. Maybe it probably wasn't my best coaching session in a way, but like, it kind of where it's when you see the light bulb go off, it's like a pretty good feeling in coaching.
I would say too, like a lot of times when it comes to content creation, we're much harsher on ourselves than the audience is, or that our students are. There are some times where I have a conversation like on this podcast, and my job is a facilitator, right? Like I'm supposed to make you shine and ask the right questions and get the value to provide to the audience. And that is my job. And I'll close it down and I'm like, fuck, I just didn't, I performed poorly. I missed questions. I didn't do a good job. And I'm like super down on myself. And then the episode gets released and I'm like looking at the playthrough percentage and it's like 99.2%. And I'm like, okay, so my perception of the conversation is just totally different than what the audience gets out of it. And some conversations I thought were super amazing and way less, right? So like we're horrible judges of how we do, but we're also human, right? And like you said, on Tuesdays when your energy levels are low, sometimes I have an interview scheduled, I have a coaching session scheduled, my energy levels are just naturally low. We're human beings. That's just going to happen.
I completely, like what you just said, like I can think of a couple of examples. So, and I think it has to do with maybe it's like skills we're not comfortable with potentially. So I wrote a section in Jonathan Little's book and I've never written like other than like school stuff. And I don't particularly like enjoy writing. It's not something that I do, but I wrote a section on like tournament strategy for the book. And like, I was like, I think this is good, but I don't know. Like, I don't have anything to judge. I've never done anything like this before. And it was like, kind of like, I didn't have confidence in it because I've never done this before. And like the reviews I got and like DMs or messages I got from people saying like, oh, your chapter was like, helped me a ton. Like this was like, I'm like, whoa, okay. Like exactly what we're saying. We're like, I don't know if I performed very well, but like same thing, like some webinars, like I do a webinar for poker coaching. There'll be 80 people in it. I'm like, I'm not sure. And then I'll get feedback. Like that was great. Excited about it. I'm like, okay, like people liked it and stuff. And I think like, I can be like harsh on myself and it's more like where skills that either I'm like learning because I'm trying to be like a perfectionist almost too much, and B, like in poker, where I have high expectations of myself. So
it comes from mastery. Yeah. What's funny is it comes from mastery too, because like when we know a concept and it's just like as easy as walking, like it's just it's our bread and butter. We know it inside and out. To somebody who doesn't know it, like when we explain it, it can seem boring or obvious or that we're not providing value. But to them, it can just be earth shattering and just open up a window that can change everything. And so I try to keep that in mind too. Like
100%.
We're not impressed with the stuff that we know because we know it so well. So we don't expect other people to be impressed either, even if they are.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Yeah, so we alluded to the 2010 WSOP. We don't have to talk about it. I know that it's talked about ad nauseum at this point.
I was gonna make the comment. You said sometimes I forget question. I said this is the longest I've gone in a podcast without someone asking about the 2010 WSOP.
Yeah. I wanted to avoid it just for that. Like, who cares? It's a thing that happened. Whatever. It's been talked about. Let's learn more. You've heard me talk early and often about how improving your awareness while you're playing cards so that you make better decisions in the moment and notice trouble spots that merit deeper consideration is one of the most valuable things you can do to make more money on the felt. In my conversation with the only 4-time WPT main event champion ever, Darren Elias, he told me that his ability to shut out all of the distractions in the world and fully focus on making great decision after great decision is his superpower he most attributes to his success. And you cannot improve your awareness at the tables without being fully present. When you learn how to stay fully in the moment on the green felt, you can finally have a clear path to becoming the absolute best version of yourself, which leads me to Jason Su. Jason is one of the foremost authorities on the planet when it comes to playing poker with presence. As a matter of fact, he even wrote the book on it. Here's a direct quote from Nick Howard at Poker Detox on Jason's ability to help you stay focused. Quote, Jason's work is a new paradigm in poker and performance. End quote. And these aren't just empty words. Nick has put his money where his mouth is by hiring Jason to coach up the Poker Detox crew. And as a loyal listener of Chasing Poker Greatness, you know by now that I would not be promoting anything I didn't 100% believe would improve your poker skills and your life. So if you want to master your emotions and perform at your peak with presence while doing battle in the arena, you'd be doing yourself a grave disservice if you didn't check out Jason's work at pokerwithpresence.com. One final time, that's pokerwithpresence.com. What do you think is the most unexpected thing that's come from your poker journey?
I think about it sometimes where it's really, really cool to think that, like, okay, I'm not number one in poker. I'm far away from being the best in poker. But, like, it's really cool to do something where, like, it's realistic that I could be, like, top 30 in the world. I'm not top 30 in the world right now. I'm not saying that, but like the potential to be like something like that. I hope that doesn't get taken the wrong way. You know how the social internet.
Who cares, like, man? Just say it. Just be proud.
Like I played golf growing up. Played basketball growing up. Never was going to, A, didn't have quite the work ethic, but B, like NBA, 0% chance I was going to play in the NBA. But like in poker, like I'm playing professionally. I've been doing it for 12 years. Like one of the top 1% players in the world. It's pretty cool to like just think about that and just think that like growing up as a kid who played sports, like we all have the dream of playing, professional, being one of the best in the world, shooting the shot in like the NBA finals or, all that stuff. And it's like, it's a dream that's actually realistic.
For sure. And, don't have pride in your abilities, right? Here's something that will probably make you feel weird because it always makes me feel weird when somebody contacts me for coaching and I don't know, they have a different image of me than I have of myself, right? And it's like, had God's Big Toe on here, me and Jared Gavin, he's the one who contacted you and got you to come on the show. And he's like, he was talking about studying and his career and how thankful he was. And he's like, man, I'm sitting here, I'm talking to Matt Affleck about poker strategy. Like, what kind of a world is this? I'm having discussions with him, right? Like, how does that make you feel as a poker player that people hold you in such high regard?
It's like, it's crazy. It's weird. It's still like weird going to like a tournament and stuff and having people recognize you, or it's very, it's very interesting. We went, here's a good story. My girlfriend and I, like, what was it? Probably like 3 years ago, we went to Paris for New Year's Eve for like a week for vacation. And we're on the Champs-Élysées, how you pronounce it? I can never pronounce it in French. Anyways, but we're like, it's like midnight and we're going in this famous macaroon shop and we're waiting in line to get seated and stuff. And I feel a tap on my shoulder. Is these two random French guys, like probably 25 to 30. And they just point their phone up to me and they go, is this you? And it's the video of the 2010 WSOP that they're showing to me.
Oh, man.
That's probably one of the funniest, like, stories of like being recognized. But it's like, I'm in Paris on vacation and like someone recognized. That's pretty like crazy.
Yeah, that's
And
pretty
like
insane.
thinking about that, it's like, I don't know. I'm not like a fame guy. Like I'm not very like outgoing. Don't like search for the fame or anything like that. But it's pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah, you're a genuine guy. You're an authentic guy, and you care, right? And that always brings people in. Authenticity, people being genuine, people are drawn to that. And then you kind of became like a poker meme, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like people will be like I play everything from like 30s online to like 200s, 300s online and stuff. And like, why are you playing this $30 tournament? Get out of our game. I'm like, I don't know. I have table space. I'm playing it. I like to play. Like, or like I'm playing. People are playing. Why are you playing this $500 tournament? I'm like, because it's 50,000 up top, and it's a very soft tournament. That's like, it's like people think that like people they see or on like in poker they think like, oh, there's these they're way different than all of us,
Right?
And
Yeah.
like not like I play online 5 days a week at home. It's like a normal job for me. Like I treat it kind of like a job. So
Sure.
it's that stuff I find is very interesting. And sometimes I don't know how to respond. Like I'm playing this tournament. Like obviously I'm playing a 3,500 WPT. Like people know why I'm there. But like, why are you playing like 2-5 5 to 1,500 to win? Like, isn't this like super small for you all? I'm like, oh, like the 5-10 game sucked. Like,
yeah.
I'm playing
why
this
are you
game.
playing it, man? I'm playing because you're here, actually. Yeah, it's Jeff Madsen was on the show, and Matt Matros was recently on the show, and those two guys are people that I saw on TV early in my poker career. Matt Matros makes like WPT championship final table, like 25K buy-in. First place is something absurd, like over $2 million.
Final I didn't even realize that he final tabled that.
Yeah, it was like very, very early in his career. His bankroll was less than $25,000. He won like a mega seat, and then won his entry into the mega, and then somehow final tables and gets there for like 700K straight out of the gate. And it's like the perception from the outside is like, oh, this Matt Matros dude, like he's baller, he's big time, and it's like, that's his first. Like his bankroll is 25K, and now it's 750 overnight. Like it's crazy. Jeff Madsen, bankroll less than 10K, like goes crazy. I think in the 2006 WSOP wins like over $1 million in over like a 3-week stretch. And then everybody knows who Jeff Madsen is, and everybody looks at him and they're like, you're just a destroyer of worlds, like overnight. So like perception doesn't always line up to kind of the reality in the world of poker because of the variance, really.
Yeah. I agree. And like, I kind of took that route a little bit early on in my career online and stuff. And it makes me like, the thing I thought of was like someone that I actually don't know personally at all, but I respect that. I watch some of the Twitch streams and stuff, but like All in Pav is like, if you look at his like Shark Scope grab, only plays tournaments and stuff, it's like pretty insane. It's just like wasn't like huge shot taking or anything like that. Like thinking like 6 years biggest score was like 40K, and he's built himself up on stream from playing like $3 tournaments to now he's playing like 500s and 1Ks and stuff. And it wasn't like his graph is not like one big score. It's just like a steady kind of. So like I respect that like a lot more now. Like the people that have grinded it up.
Yeah,
it's
because for every Jeff Madsen and Matt Matros and even Matt Affleck, right? There are guys who are at a super high skill level that just don't get that. They variance doesn't happen and they don't get there.
And I can't remember where I heard this, but I heard it a long time ago, and it makes a lot of sense. It's very true in poker. There's a lot of really, really, really good poker players that didn't make it because of variance. They didn't have luck early on in their career. Potentially, maybe they ran bad and they're like, all right, I don't want to deal with this variance. I'm going to go whatever. And then there's a lot of people that, got lucky early where maybe they wouldn't, if that luck wouldn't have happened, like if they hadn't won that tournament, they would have kept some bad habits, would have kept, they wouldn't have had that cushion that tournament allowed them that time to build their skills in the game. And so it's kind of the timing of the variance is almost way more important than the variance itself.
Absolutely, especially as it relates to like MTTs and big MTT scores, because like you said, there are people who really have no business having a poker career, right? That just kind of run 100%. Good right in the beginning and then just move straight down from there. So yeah, it's a tough industry. You need to run good when it matters early on, and not taking anything away from like any of the people that I mentioned. It's just sometimes you just run good in your career. Like,
I mean, I had it. Myself, I had it. I ran good early in my career, and it was a positive and a negative, but it was probably more of a positive because it gave me a lot of cushion for the negative.
Yeah, so, you could overcome a lot of mistakes. And losing a lot of money, you had a cushion built in so that you could recover eventually.
Exactly, 100%.
What does your process look like for regularly improving your game?
Kind of the last like 2.5 years, I've really like rededicated myself. There was kind of that, like I look back and not like regret, but like, 2011 to 2015, 16, where I kind of just didn't work on my game. There wasn't any online poker, just playing live cash,
I feel
playing super exploitative. You gain a lot of bad habits that make you a lot of money. They're not like bad habits per se, but like they don't teach you to be like those habits are going to get you in some bad situations when you play better players. But like I've really rededicated myself, especially like this year, spending a lot of time studying, working with solvers a lot, doing kind of like scheduling out my study time has helped a lot. And I'm kind of an early morning person-ish. So like I normally like to study early in the morning. It's kind of like the gym for me. If I don't do it early in the morning, I'm not going to do it at all.
Yep.
If I don't go to the gym at like 9 a.m., I'm not going at 4 p.m. because then I'm like, I'm kind of hungry. I kind of want dinner. Let's just have dinner instead. And then you don't want to go after you eat. So
eat your frogs first.
Yeah. So I like, I'll study in the morning for a couple hours, get whatever stuff I need to get done. Terms of like schedule, like I'm like I said, like 4 or 5 days a week. I know we start around 3 p.m. play all the American stuff. But in terms of like actual what I'm studying, like a lot of like solvers, but it's took a long time, but I think I finally kind of learned how to use them efficiently in an effective way.
Yeah, which is funny.
Yeah, it took a while. There's a huge learning curve with solvers.
Yes. Most people are using them horrendously in ways that are very damaging to their poker careers.
Yeah. And probably the best way that kind of turned the corner for me was learning to script and running scripts and learning Excel and formatting and stuff and just being able to
What does scripts mean for the audience?
Okay. So scripting will be, let's say I want to run. So for example, what it is, button versus big blind, 20 big blinds. And I'll run one setup where I'll put the buttons opening range at 20 big blinds, the big blinds defending range, all the various parameters. And instead of just running it for one flop, I'll run it for 184 flops. And this is something that will probably is like overnight, probably like a 12 to 16 hour process. And what it will do is it will create an Excel report. And what I can do then is sort the flops by, for example, like check percentage. Which flops am I checking a super, like it's going to give me my global frequency. Like you're going to check 33% of the time in this situation on across all boards. But there's certain boards we're going to check 70% of the time. There's certain boards we're going to check 20%. So like I'll start to sort by flop texture and realize, okay, we're never checking any ace high board in this situation because the big blind is rejamming a lot of their ace X hands and you just have a huge polarization advantage on this board. So not only are we betting always, we're sizing up a ton on these flop textures. And that way, now I'm starting to pattern recognition now. And like, which boards am I betting a small size on? What size am I betting a big size on? And I'm learning the differences in what type of pattern recognition that I'm seeing. For example, like I'm always going to be checking back the highest on these low straight boards. Like there's a very clear pattern because the big blind has a lot better board coverage on those boards than the in position raiser. So we're checking back a ton on these boards and just learning that pattern recognition. And then I'll do it The next level is I'll run button versus big blind for 40 big blinds. The same situation. And I'll have the same flop subset. And now I can compare, how does this flop, what's my strategy change at 20 big blinds versus 40 big blinds? Well, now those 40 big blinds, the big blind has more ace-x in their range because they're not rejamming it at all pre-flop. And so I'm doing a lot more some more checking on ace-x boards now at 40 big blinds and I'm learning the pattern recognition between stack size as well as the position. And so I look at PO as all about pattern recognition, and you see very, very clear patterns in terms of A, how it plays certain spots, and B, what types of hands it likes to use in certain situations for bluffing, etc.
Yep.
So
you're bucketing it. You're creating
exactly.
You're creating different chunks and using a heuristic to navigate.
Yeah, and it's not about copying the strategy or anything. You're trying to find these principles and heuristics that I can actually apply in game.
Yep. And then you ask yourself why, right? And then
exactly.
Then you compare PIO to how population is typically responding or how different player archetypes, a rec player is going to respond differently than a professional player, and then just developing strategy around that. It's a very intense process, this learning of poker. It's a hard game.
And it's I found out now, I actually really like studying this way. And I didn't like studying before because I found watching some videos and stuff. I just didn't enjoy it really.
Yeah, me neither.
And I resisted for a while getting into PO Solver because I thought it was going to be this really high learning curve. And I was I don't really want to spend the time right now to learn it and stuff. And once I finally did it, it doesn't take that long to learn how to use it in terms of using it. Now, learning to use it effectively, yes, it takes some time.
So greatness bombs here. These are greatness bombs, listener. How do you use it effectively? What can, from a structural way, step 1, step 2, step 3, what can the listener do to learn how to use PIO more effectively?
In terms of just how does it work on a basic level in terms of setting up, or
we'll go beyond how it works because I think that information is pretty easily Googleable.
Yeah.
But how to use it effectively and efficiently?
So I would say first would be so take that button versus big blind scenario. And let's say the flop is ace queen 5. Change it, run it again for ace queen 5 with a flush draw. How does that change it? Change it to ace 9-5. How does it change when there's not another Broadway card that you connect with? Learn on these little subtle differences that you'll quickly notice patterns. And you want to run extremes. So how I run my scripts is I'll run button versus big blind and under the gun versus big blind. And then everything in between, I can kind of just merge the two.
Extrapolate.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to learn the extremes of okay, this spot plays way differently under the gun versus big blind because you're playing against a much tighter range versus big blind. And you can learn those two strategies well, and it helps you extrapolate it. I don't need to run cutoff versus big blind if I know how to play button versus big blind. So run it at, let's say, 20 big blinds and then run it at 60 big blinds. What's the difference? Because that's a huge extreme now. There's a much deeper stack depth. So that same spot, if you don't even want to do a script, that ace queen 5, how does it change? Change it to a 60 big blind stack. How does that change the situation? Now you're actually learning how to play deep stack versus how to play shallow stack. And there's some very the biggest principle with shallow stack play post flop is protecting your equity. So for example, on that ace queen 5 flop, I might check back a hand 8-7 of hearts with a flush draw. Ace queen 5 2 hearts. And I might check back there because at shallow stacks, if I get check raised or even check shoved on, it's a disaster because now I have to fold that equity. Versus at 60 big blinds, I can always bet that hand because I can always call a check raise and always call a turn bet and make sure I see the river.
Yep.
But when I'm at 20 big blinds, this is a very consistent heuristic that you see that any draw that you can't bet call off, you're mostly just checking back because your number one goal is to protect your equity. And would be potentially the first thing. The best example would be you have 8-9 on Jack 10-5. That would be the perfect example of a draw. You're probably going to check back because if someone starts check raising or check jamming with ace jack or king jack, it's just a disaster to have to fold that hand.
Yep.
So now you're learning how to play shallow stack versus deep stack, and that's an effective use of the solver. The effective use of the solver is not how to play ace queen 5. It's what's the difference? How do I play it when I'm shallow stacked versus deep stack, or how do I play it versus under the gun or versus the big blind?
Yeah, and what are the goals, right? Like, what am I trying to accomplish, and what is a disaster scenario? It's like on the turn in a cash game when like SPR's 4, and we bet in position, and villain check raises us, and we start trying to figure out if they're polarized. So if they have like gutters, or if they have like combo draws, and then they have sets. This is a hand that I'm not going to go into the hand. We broke it down in detail in my group. But basically, the takeaway is villain's not incentivized to check raise there with a lot of combo draws, because a bet 3-bet on the turn that folds out their equity is a disaster. So you don't want to check raise, or you don't expect villains to have a lot of check raise combo draws in their check raise range, because if we shove, it's just horrible for them. So we can kind of deduce from there then what that check raise range really starts looking like, and then start making better decisions with like overpairs and stuff like that.
100% agree. Like that's learning how to play situations like that, and learning that's like a heuristic you can apply. Like it's the same SPR, like a 20 big blind SPR is going to be like between 3 and 4. It's like the exact same situation you're describing on the turn. So now you can use that principle in heuristic also in that situation on the turn, where maybe you started the hand 60 big blinds deep, but now it's a 4 SPR on the flop on the turn.
Yep. And if it's like, if the SPR is much more, and you don't think you're going to get bet 3-bet off your equity with any like frequency, or if they do bet 3-bet, they can't just rip it. They have to bet 3-bet some amount that you can still call. Then maybe it starts becoming more appealing to check raise with hands like combo draws.
Yep.
So I know we've been going a while already. I've missed all my questions, but let's do lightning round here, and we'll go through it fast. Okay. When you think about joy in your career playing cards, what's the first memory that comes to mind?
Pretty cool to see. Like I've traveled a lot of the world at a young age for poker. I wish I was a little more like cultured when I was younger. Instead of like being poker. But yeah, like traveling around, really cool. And then also like just like recently, like grinding a lot the last few years, and then like just yesterday, like having the like, I mean, it's not going to change my life or anything like the score, but having like biggest score like post Black Friday, and it's just like it put a smile on my face. And normally winning a tournament doesn't, but it was more not the money amount, but just like I know I've been like working really hard. I've been studying a lot.
What do you make of
close
that?
Calls.
What do you make of winning a tournament not putting a smile on your face?
I'm not like big on. So I go back and forth. It's like, let's take like bracelets, for example. Okay. I don't have a bracelet. And right now, like, I don't really care about bracelets. Like, I don't think it's like I don't think they really mean much per se. But I also don't know if that's me like trying to like deflect because I don't have one.
Yeah.
Or if it's because I actually don't like, I've actually come to a point in my career where I realize like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Like I've had some final tables, I've had some close calls and bracelets, but like to me, it's not like, you know, if I get second in a tournament at the WSOP for like 300,000, am I not going to be happy because I didn't win a bracelet? Like, no, it's going to be like
I remember
massive score.
I remember at 2010, Mr. Matt Affleck that was not happy.
Yeah, I wasn't happy like at the time and stuff. And but like I remember saying in an interview later that night after a couple of beverages, like I distinctly remember like, maybe this is the best that I didn't win, because if I won $8 million, maybe I won't have like the drive and the passion. Like there's a chance I wouldn't be playing poker right now, versus like that left me like hungry and still wanting more. And so like,
it's a good way to frame it.
It's like fueled my passion. Yeah.
It's a good way to frame it. I still think you'd take the 8 million personally.
Yeah, I would take the 8
million. But yeah, I mean, I think it's funny how we look back to some of the worst times in our life that are a real struggle and hard to get beyond. Kind of in the moment, we're emotionally devastated, and we kind of look at them as turning points for the better. At least that's how I look at it in my life. I look at Black Friday as something that happened. It affected me in a massive way, but it changed my life for the better ultimately. And so we can always kind of look back and frame things in those ways. But I don't know. It's hard to say. I guess you'd have to win a bracelet to see how much it really mattered to you.
Yeah, I'm very curious what my reaction would be. Like, I'm actually like genuinely curious. I have no idea what my reaction would be.
I'm curious too. Now I want you to win a bracelet just so we can have you back on the show and be like, yeah, were you just full of shit? Like, does it actually mean, is it actually super important? And you're like, no, I was right.
Like, I'd probably still just grind like the $55 10K the next day. But I think so.
For sure. When you think about pain in your poker career, what's the first? I can't even ask the question with a straight face.
The people on the podcast can't see that we're actually looking, and like we're both just laughing at each other as you can't even get through the question.
No, I want to be surprised on this one. When you think about pain in your poker career, what's the first memory that comes to mind?
I mean, the first memory is the main event, like because that's probably like the one moment in poker where I can actually like remember like visually and stuff, like what happened.
It's well documented.
Yeah, that's part of it. Like, there was a crew that followed me around for like an hour and a half, and I didn't even know. There was like a PokerStars blog, like Matt Affleck went outside and he sat down on the steps outside the ring. I was looking up at an airplane passing by. Like, there's literally a blog that followed me. I was like, what the?
They're like live tweeting everything you're doing.
Yeah. So obviously that. I mean, that's probably.
There's got to be more painful memories though, right? Like, what's another painful memory?
I don't know. I love poker. There's not a lot of like, even the pain I don't really view as pain. Like it's all part of the journey. And like, I kind of like, it's all, I love it.
That's a good way.
The ups and I love the downs too. Like, I don't love the downs, but like, it's like once they're past, I'm like, yeah, I love it. Like I'm better off because of it.
Well, thank God the 2010 main event happened to you and not a lesser man. Because
I was wondering, like, what if I just flipped the table? Like, what would have happened? Like, everyone's chips went everywhere. Like, they just couldn't play. Like, if I can't play, like,
are they like bolted down? You probably would have tried to flip it and just like failed.
I don't know. I don't know. That would have been.
I've heard of people trying to like rip the cards, but they're like not rippable, and so they're like struggling to rip them in half.
God, I remember that tournament, final two tables. Like, I've never had a card rush like I had. Like, even before the bust out hand, I had aces like 2 or 3 times, ace king a couple times, kings once, like flopped a set once. I think it was like that whole tournament is just crazy. Like, it's just a crazy tournament.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man. One of those things. Let's see. If you could gift all poker players one book to read, doesn't necessarily have to be poker related.
Yeah.
What would it be and why?
Well, I know what the most recommended book is from listening to the podcast is The Mental Game of Poker, which is I do really recommend. But to recommend a book that I don't know, I don't think a lot. Maybe some poker players are. I would say like some personal finance books. So like The Total Money Makeover and like I Will Teach You to Be Rich by like Ramit Sethi. Yeah, Ramit. Learning like just how to budget and stuff. And like problem I had a lot wasn't like poker related in terms of like part of my downfall was just like I wasn't budgeting. And it's like hard when you're a poker player where you're like, oh, this $200 meal or $100 meal, it's like half a buy-in or whatever. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, but like ever since like I just fully separated everything and actually like budgeted out stuff, like it's been extremely helpful for me and it's helped my poker career a lot. And just realizing like the opportunity, there's still like an opportunity cost of money. Whether like today, like yes, I'm gonna celebrate like my general like when I have like a score, we'll go to a nice dinner like once. That's how we'll celebrate it and stuff. But like that money really isn't like mine almost in a way.
Yes,
that's
I realized
like my EV over, you know, whether it's I was below EV and I finally got even or I was above EV or whatever. But like just treating it like, yeah, treat yourself some, but I think most poker players would do really well with a budget.
Yeah.
And almost more so than like your average American household. which always like every average American household runs some sort of budget in a way. Like, and I don't know, I never thought I would be someone, but like reading a bunch of personal finance books, and those two books specifically really opened my eyes to that. And it's really kind of helped my poker career.
Yeah, those are greatness bombs. I mean, coming from like, I'm same as you as far as like a middle class upbringing, and it's like maybe even lower middle class, to be honest, now that I look back on it. And it's like driving around trying to find like the cheapest gas station. Like, oh, this station's got it for 10 cents a gallon, 10 cents cheaper or whatever. Like when I was playing cards and making money, I'm not going to lie and say that I've ever looked at the gas station prices, because I still haven't, because that's too,
yeah,
I don't want to, but it's just spending money, going out to eat all the time and like never tracking it. And it's like, who cares? It's $50, it's $100, lunch is $75, whatever. Let's do it. I'll pay for 100%. Everybody.
Yep.
I'll start drinking at like noon and rack up a massive bar tab. That only happened one time. Nobody thinks I'm a massive alcoholic in my early 20s, but we're impulsive, right? We're young. We're not emotionally mature. Just, we're going to make bad financial decisions. And like you were in finance, right?
Yep.
Like you got a degree in finance and you're young and made poor financial decisions. So like anybody can. It's the expectation, really.
Yeah. I have one more thing for Joy, by the way.
Yeah.
Like having a significant other now that like really like is very supportive of like the poker career and like understands it, and like growing it like up and well, not growing up, but like early on in my career, like thinking like, will I find someone that it's kind of an interesting, profession, and it's finding someone that's very like supportive and understands there's like there's very tough times in the career. There's very, very good times, and being like supportive throughout those. And that's like really, really good joy.
It's clutch. It can make or break you as a poker player.
100%.
You have to have somebody who understands the variance, has the expectation that there's going to be times where we have a losing run of 2 months or 3 months. And the live poker world, I can't even imagine the variance there, where it's like a losing year is something that's like a thing. And just not get stressed out or be like, oh, are you gambling? Are you playing bad? I can't take it. Like somebody that you're afraid to tell how much money you lost at the end of a session. These are not good things for your psyche, your emotions. Poker has too much pressure as it is without adding that on top of everything else.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Like also too, for like poker players out there, like first, like, having someone that's supportive, but like something I'm working on too, and I'm trying to be a lot more self-reflective, is like realize too, like the sacrifices that they make being supportive. Like something in poker, like I'll travel like a week out of the month or something. I'll go to a tournament, or, there's days like I don't take Sundays off, and she works during the week. So like her days are off days like Saturday and Sunday. So like one of her off days, like she knows is like I'm completely off. So it's like, it's a lot of like sacrifices in terms that they're making as well.
For sure. The emotional bank account can get overdrawn, and we have to make sure that we're present with our partners. Like whenever you're trying to achieve something that's very hard, or you're pursuing an endeavor that is very competitive, and you're trying to be like a top 30 player in the world, it is by nature that it is a selfish endeavor. You are going to have to be selfish, right?
Exactly.
You can't have it both ways. My friend, Adam Creek, I remember asking him on my other podcast a million years ago, like, how does somebody be a world-class athlete, like a gold medal Olympic champion, while also being a great life partner, a great father, a great friend? And he said, it's very simple. You don't. You just don't. You have to make that choice if you're aiming to be one of the very best in the world. It's a very selfish pursuit. And so recognizing that and being grateful and appreciative to the folks who, are quite frankly willing to put up with our bullshit and willing to take the brunt of the sacrifice. Be grateful.
It's a lot of bullshit.
It is. It is a whole bunch. Okay, so if you could wreck the billboard Every poker player's got to drive past. What's it say?
The first thing that came to mind was be more professional. I think a lot of professional poker players are lazy and very, very unprofessional.
In what way? Can you expand?
I mean, they're kind of, I mean, I say this now because I've kind of learned a little bit, but like they make the same mistakes I made early on in my career. They just think, oh yeah, like eventually I'll hit a big score, you know, just have to keep playing, you know, put in the volume. But like, they're also like, they don't want to make sacrifices. So I think a lot of poker players they expect things that they haven't done anything to deserve. Like, what have they, asking yourself, like, I don't know where I heard this, but like, what have you done as a poker player that makes you more deserving than the person next to you?
Yep.
Like, and the thing I like about poker is the people that work the hardest are going to make the most money. And I'm going to outwork you. Like,
That's what
my days right now are like, not just playing, like I'm spending, 10 to 15 hours a week off the table, plus 40 hours a week studying, plus coaching, plus, like, it's like, I'm going to outwork you. And so it's kind of like, I think there's a lot of poker players that expect, they have a disconnect between their goals and what they're doing to reach those goals. I guess that's the best way to put it. The disconnect between those.
Yep. And a why. Like, why are you going to make it when other people fail? What makes you special? What makes you different? It's easy for us to delude ourselves and to overestimate skill level, overestimate our importance, all of these things. So staying level, like you said, being humble and being a worker. It's a meritocracy. That's what's beautiful about this game. I love that it's a meritocracy.
It's not like 8 years ago where you could just wake up, play, or 10 years ago and just make money. It's I don't know, I feel like being more regimented in my schedule and stuff has helped me a lot in terms of just being more prepared, just being more professional about it has helped me a lot.
Yeah, taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, paying attention to what you put in your body, all of these things, they matter. And assuming that two human beings, atom for atom, are exactly equal, the dude that's working out, the dude that's putting good fuel in his body is going to have an edge over the person who isn't, the version of himself who isn't. So you got to be that guy.
And that leads to also what's the hardest thing about poker, and what I talk to students a lot about, is being able to like recognize like false feedback.
Yep.
Where recognizing, and that's the challenge. That's all of poker, is being able to ignore the noise. You're going to get false feedback all the time. And just being able to recognize that you are doing the correct process, and that's really all that matters. And as long as you're doing the correct process, that's what you can control.
Yeah. And all the noise is so funny to me because it works both ways, right? Like it can reinforce negative behavior, and then it could give benefits to, it can reinforce negative behavior and then crush you for positive behavior and make you question your positive behavior. Like it's really hard to analyze it without biases and look at it and navigate your way through. It's a tough gig, man. It's a tough gig. 2 more questions. What's a project you're working on that's near and dear to your heart?
I'm a poker player. So I'm coaching, which is something I'm getting passionate about and doing a lot of now. Doing a lot with pokercoaching.com, making a lot of content for them. And then, my life's pretty simple. Other than I play poker. My time that I'm not playing poker, I'm spending with my girlfriend. I'm trying working, be more present and be like in that time with her. I'm a golfer, so something I want to do as a project that I haven't done. So I played competitive golf growing up, but nothing where I was anywhere near good. I'm like an 8 handicap now, and I'd like to get to the point where I'm actually able to put a lot of time in my game, try to get down to like scratch and get back into like tournament golf. Playing like the like Southern Nevada Golf Association, which one they have a lot of like good local tournaments here and stuff. I want to play more like some golf tournaments. I think it'd be cool to play like for people to know, like the US Amateur is going on right now. I'm never going to be able to compete in that. Like that's the best college players in the world. But if I got down to like a scratch, to qualify it, you probably have to shoot like a 67. And it's like, maybe there's a chance if I have a career round one day, like it'd just be fun to play the qualifier.
Yeah.
And there is, and at that point, like, you know, a non-zero chance if I get to that point where like I could just career it and shoot like a 67 and qualify and get to go play with some of the best non-professional golfers in the world or something. Like,
yeah,
it'd be kind of a cool.
That'd be awesome. And I take offense, by the way, when you said I'm just a poker player. Hey, man, we're capable. We can do other things.
Yeah.
We can have things that are projects that are near and dear to our hearts besides just poker. We're hobbyists. We can have other hobbies.
Yeah.
No, I'm just messing with you. But final question, where can the Chasing Poker Greatness audience find you on the World Wide Web?
Twitter, MC Matto Poker, McMatto Poker. I don't post a ton, but I read a lot on Twitter. So you can find me there. Pokercoaching.com. You can find a lot of my content on there. Sure, if I want to put my email out there publicly for private, probably not. But if you're interested in like coaching, you can hit me up on Twitter or through Poker Coaching on the Poker Coaching website. There's links for coaching requests.
DMs are up.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know if they are. To be honest, I'm not that sophisticated with Twitter and stuff. But if you tweet at me, say, hey, I want to send you a DM about coaching or something, then yes, I will send you a DM then.
Yeah. Surefire way to get more students is make them work.
Yeah.
Make them work to find you.
Yeah. I can weed out the player pool then that way.
Yeah, that is a good way. Create some friction. Man, it's been great having you on the show. Go enjoy your victory. Spend some time with your lady. Have an awesome rest of your day. Let's do this again in the near future.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thanks. I'm not like relatively new listening to the podcast, but I've listened to it a lot more in the last like month going back, and I really enjoy it. And I think you're doing good work on it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Take care.
Yeah, take it easy.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Chasing Poker Greatness. If you have yet to subscribe to the show, please take a second to do so on Apple Podcasts or wherever your favorite place to listen to podcasts may be. For more content from me, Coach Brad, please visit our YouTube channel at youtube.com/enhanceyouredge, and I'll see you next time.